This podcast is brought to you by Convo Cloth, the official clothing apparel of the NBC podcast. For the latest apparel, please go to www.nothingbutconvos.com. Now, let's get into the latest episode of the NBC podcast with your boy, S. McCann. What's good, people?
Nothing like it.
It's the NBC podcast with your boy, S. McCann. And this is episode 35, Eagles Wildcard Playoff Review. And in this game, it didn't come out with a win, but we did see our team fight to the end. And now, with this offseason starting, we get to see what moves Howie and his franchise makes in a new league year. And so in this episode, I break down our game versus the Bucs, Howie and Nick's end of the season presser, and our outlook in the offseason, us making moves to become a contender. So sit back, relax, let's get it. Our playoff game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tampa Bay 31, Eagles 15. And in this game, Jalen Hurts struggled a lot. The defense that was played against Jalen Hurts, 2 defensive players spying on him, 1 high safety, and an extra DB in the middle of the field. This type of defense rattled the young QB because he never seen it before. It's his first start. Some things you will see, some things you won't see. But you still have to adjust during the game and still get your playmakers the ball during the game. Devontae Smith didn't have a catch until the fourth quarter. That shouldn't happen. You should have been feeding him because they was playing off coverage on him. You could have hit him with slants all day, just moving the ball up the field until they adjusted. We never adjusted on offense during this game. We played into the defensive hand. And this was the outcome of the game. Jalen Hurts, 2 interceptions. He did have a touchdown. That was in garbage time. But you have to help your young quarterback out, especially when we were a running team and our leading rusher was Jalen Hurts. During the season, we didn't win much games with him being the leading rusher. And I do not fault our offense for playing this way because we was down 14-0. Down 14-0, then down 17-0. It was tough. It was tough to watch because you thought that we could impose our will on this offense defensively because they were down a few receivers, and on offense because they were down a cornerback. But they played a single high safety, a safety in the middle of the field with the linebacker, David, and a safety close to the line of scrimmage where that safety will spy on Jalen Hurts. He can blitz whenever he wanted. When you don't see something like that during the regular season and in film, it's hard to adjust during the game. And they could have adjusted, but young coaching staff, first time QB at the helm, it's hard to get that adjustment. But you've seen it. Now you got tape on it. And so now you have to continue to just learn from this game, learn from the season, and move forward for the next phase of your career. Year 3. In this game, Jalen Hurts was 23 of 43, 258 yards, 1 TD, 2 picks. Rushing, Jalen Hurts, 8 carries, 39 yards, 4.9 yards a carry on a hurt ankle. No excuses, but he was hurt. Boston Scott, 1 carry, 34 yards, 1 touchdown. Miles Sanders, 7 carries, 16 yards, 2.3 yards a carry. Kenneth Gainwell, 1 carry, 6 yards. Receiving, Dallas Goedert. It was the Dallas Goedert show. We was feeding him the ball and feeding him the ball. We should have fed Devontae Smith more, get some open routes or try to get open Quez Watkins during this game. But Dallas Goedert, 6 receptions, 92 yards, 15.3 yards of reception. Devontae Smith, 4 receptions, 60 yards, 15 yards of reception. Kenneth Gainwell, 5 receptions, 49 yards, 9.8 yards of reception and a TD. Quez Watkins, 2 receptions, 35 yards, 17.5 yards of reception. Jordan Howard, 1 reception, 7 yards. Jalen Reagor, 1 reception, 2 yards. Boston Scott, 1 reception, 1 yard. Throughout this game, it was difficult for us to move the ball because the Bucs, all they had to do was just sit back because they know we were going to throw. And throughout this game, the defense didn't help the offense at all. First drive of the game, we get a roughing the passer. And that was on 3rd and 9. Gave him the first down. And in the beginning of the game, Brady was off. He wasn't comfortable. Receivers was dropping balls. We had a chance. We had to get a stop. We had a chance. We had to get a stop. We didn't get a stop. After that roughing the passer, Brady was just picking us apart. Picking us apart. Cooking us. This passive, playing off, playing cover 2 or whatever they playing, not jamming the receivers. That was the wrong game plan in this game. You should have had Slay follow Mike Evans the whole game. We wouldn't know the outcome, but that's what it should have been. Up on him the whole game. This is the last game of the year, basically, if you lose. So you have nothing to lose. Let him play Mike Evans the whole game. That's all they had was Mike Evans. No one else. And you letting Mike Evans run free? Come on, man. Mike Evans was running free. Mike Evans had 9 receptions, 117 yards, 1 TD. Cooking us. Cooking us. You shut that down. They couldn't do nothing. And Mike Evans played the slot the same as Antonio Brown, how he was cooking us. That's the weakness. They figured out the weakness. They said, oh, we're going to put Mike Evans in the slot. We're going to run him over the middle. We're going to do all that. Man, that's what happened. That's what happened. Cooked us the whole game. And I don't understand how our defensive coordinator, Gannon, is being looked at as a head coach. He's terrible. He is terrible. It's no way that you have Slay All pro year to me, not follow their best receiver. And he can play man. He's a man-up receiver. That's what he played in college. That's what he played when he came into the league. He is not no zone cornerback. He plays man on man. I don't get that. I do not get that. Even Steven Nelson, he playing against third string, fourth string receivers, practice squad dudes. He can man up on them. They should have just manned up and let them pick us apart. Let them. You just don't let them sit back there comfortable. Come on, man. Pass rush wasn't there. Talking about the ends. Yeah, Ryan Kerrigan, he got a little bit. But on the other side, dude wasn't getting there. Terrible to me. He got to go. Barnett got to go. Trash. It's a lot of players on this team that have to go, but the main player that can't be on this roster next year is Jalen Reagor. He's an embarrassment. I'm embarrassed for this guy to be on our squad as a receiver, first-round receiver, that they drafted this guy in the first round. Playoff game. He had 1 reception, 2 yards. 1 reception, 2 yards in the playoff game. Terrible. We need to revamp our back end, safeties. We need a playmaking safety. Some dude that can run end to end. I don't know where you can get him at, but that's what you need. You need a playmaking linebacker. Someone that can run sideline to sideline. I don't know how you can get it, but that should be the focus. Linebacker. DN. We need a playmaking DN. Get sacks, pressures, everything. Yes, Sweat was out, but you need some depth on that end. We need another corner. And we definitely need another wide receiver. For real. Another wide receiver. So I listened to the Howie and Nick Sirianni end of the year presser, and they broke down certain things that went on in this game and what will be going on in the future. And they stated that Jalen Hurts is their quarterback for the future, which is a smart move because you don't have to pay him big money. You got him on a team-friendly contract, and you can just build your team around this guy. Build your team up. And after his deal or after year 3, going into year 4, if he's not the guy, you already built your team from the last draft. So now you build your team up, free agency, all of those draft picks, build the D up. Build the offense up through free agency. Do these things to make you have a team. It shouldn't be focused on the quarterback, getting an elite quarterback. You're going to sell your whole franchise of picks, no players. What's going to happen if we get a franchise quarterback that we trade away some players and picks? The defense still trash. So now you putting $30 plus million in a veteran quarterback. What he got to work with? He ain't got to work with nothing. He don't got no receivers. He got 1 receiver, 1 tight end. What else? Defense is still trash. They still giving up points. So you putting him in a bad situation. Look, man, just build this defense up and continue to see Jalen Hurts grow into that quarterback position. That's the best thing that you can do. And that's what Howie and them said that they were going to do. We're building this team up, and Jalen Hurts is my quarterback. Another thing that was telling was when they had a question about Jalen Reagor. Howie said he shouldn't be at this point in year 3. year 2, year 3, whatever he is. I'm so mad. I just don't like the dude, man. For real, I really don't like the guy. He's just not that good. He should be more far off than where he is in his progression right now. And so this was year 2 of Jalen Reagor. He's going in year 3. He came in the same year as Jalen Hurts. And his career stats is 64 receptions, 695 yards, 4 touchdowns. 64 receptions throughout his 2 years in the NFL. 695 yards, 4 touchdowns as a receiver. I don't want to even go and touch on his returning abilities because it's terrible. And I'm going to get to what he did within this game that could have changed the tide and had us in great field position. But those numbers of Jalen Reagor in 2 years, and I will give you Quez Watkins numbers just this year. 43 receptions, 647 yards, 1 touchdown. That's 1 year. He has almost the same yards as a number 1 receiver that was drafted, and he's a 6th-round receiver. That's crazy to me. And so Nick Sirianni in the presser, he broke down who's our number 1 receiver, who's our 2nd receiver, and who's our 3rd receiver. And then we probably will get a 4th guy or a 3rd guy or a 2nd guy, and then it will drop everybody down the depth chart. But our first number 1 receiver on the team is Devontae Smith. That's what the coach said. Our 2nd receiver is Quez Watkins, 6th-round pick. Our 3rd receiver slot guy is Jalen Reagor. And both of them, how they were talking, were very upset with him of the progression. He has talent, but the progression. Him as a punt returner doesn't show no burst, can't read blocks. And in this game, it was costly. You ain't even help your defense out. The defense got a costly. I'm talking about they got a stop, punted. We was about to be at the 50 or whatever, 40. He muffs the punt. Come on, man. This the playoffs. You can't do stuff like that. Especially when your spot and your status of a receiver on this team is on the line. That cost us the game. Not cost us the game in general, but that's one of the plays where we could have turned it around. If we went down and scored, it would have been 17-7, down by 10. We would have got a little bit of momentum, right? But that right there was a very costly play that cost the team, cost your defense. It was just some things you can't do, and that's one of them. You got to be sure-handed. And throughout this season, he didn't show you anything that he deserved to start this playoff game. He showed you nothing. He gave you nothing. We only was playing with 2 receivers the whole year, basically. And then the tight end Dallas Goedert. Quez Watkins had some points in the game, but he's a 6th-round pick. He's still learning his way to be a full-time starter in the league. And you got your spot taken from you by a 6th-round pick. That's crazy. And so the outlook of the new calendar year, I did go through some things that we needed during this year in this playoff game. We needed so much, and it showed you what we needed. Safety, corner, linebacker, DN, another receiver, and we need playmakers. So before the draft, please go out there and get a veteran receiver. Odell, price just went up. Mike Williams is out there. You got Gallup. You might have Amari Cooper. You have Ridley looking for a trade. So you got options. You might can get 2 receivers. You put 2 receivers with this squad, Quez Watkins and Devontae Smith, with 2 veteran receivers, and then you draft a receiver. I'm telling you, this team will be that deal. This team will be that deal. And so in the upcoming pods regarding the Eagles, free agency, I'll do a pod on free agency. And I'll probably do that coming up into when the draft is about to hit, and make a pod about the draft, and then I'll talk about our free agents that we got and then what we will need going into this draft. But we need a lot to compete, and quarterback is not one of them. And so with that, people, it's a wrap. 1.
Nothing like it.
So that was episode 35, Eagles Wildcard Playoff Review. And so in that pod, I broke down the Eagles playoff game versus the Bucs, Howie and Nick's end of the season presser, and what we need to do in the offseason to make our team contender. And it's a lot that we need. So through free agency and the draft, I hope we can get it done. And so until the next time, people, stay safe, give respect, and show love. 1. Make sure you go listen to all old and new NBC podcast episodes on all podcasting platforms. And please go to www.nothingbutconvos.com for the latest apparel.